All right, Unit 6, Day 7 notes. Again, we're deep into factoring and we're moving forward from it. This is actually the last day before our review for this unit. So if you haven't been able to look at the videos, please go back and look at the videos. They are important. They will help you on your test, help you in ALEX. Sometimes the way I teach is a little different than Alex. It gives you another perspective. You might like it better. Okay, so let's move on. We're going to factor completely. And always remember the first thing with factoring is seeing if there's a greatest common factor in there. And in this particular case, they are all even. So you know at very least it's 2. And 10 is 2 times 5. So you know it's going to be probably 2. That's the greatest common factor there. And then all these are W's. And it looks like there are at very least 5 W's in each because the lowest number is 5 there. So what I'm going to take out is 2W to the 5th. All right. So when I do that for these, what happens here, this becomes 2W squared because it's 7 minus 5, okay? Minus, this is what, 16W, and then plus, when I divide that, 6 divided by 2 is 3, and then W to the 5th is out. So that is what's left over after all of these. Oh, I don't know why I put 2 here. 5, it's 5. Sorry, I apologize for that. All right, so basically I just divided everything by 2, and with the exponents I just subtracted. All right. So now that I have that, I have 5W squared minus 16W plus 3. Let's factor this. I would, circle slide divide here. Okay, I'm going to leave this on the outside. You can't really do anything with it. It's going to be in your answer at the end. But that's about it, kind of like what we did with the negatives earlier along. Okay, this becomes W squared minus 16W. 5 times 3 is 15. Same or different? Mostly same, because this last number is positive, meaning they're both going to be, they're both going to be the same sign, both negatives. Multiples of 15 that add, because you're talking about same add to give you 16, is 15 and 1. Okay? 15 and 1, 15 plus 1 is 16. Don't forget to divide by whatever number that is that's here. All right? So W, and then 15 divided by 5 is 3. This can't simplify. If you can, you need to. If you can't, this becomes 5W minus 1. Please don't forget this 2W to the 5th. That goes on the very outside. This is going to be your answer. Okay, and again, this one is very similar, so go ahead and try that one. That one is a good one. Get the key off of the canvas and look and see if you get that correct. It's very similar to this. Follow these steps on this one, and you should get a good answer on that. Okay. Now let's try this one. All right. So again, look and see if you can try to get a greatest common factor here. I see they both have 3, so I know 3 is going to be at very least the greatest common factor. This one has b to the 4th. This one doesn't have a b, and they both have w cubes. So I'm going to take out the w cubes there. Okay. What is left over? V to the 4th for the first term minus 1. All right. So because 3w cubed all came out. So if nothing's left over, 1, kind of like what we said at the very couple note days ago. All right. So now we're going to factor this. Can we? Looks like they're both perfect squares. One is a perfect square, 1 times 1, and v to the 4th is a perfect because it's v squared times v squared. Okay. So let's do that. So it's going to be squared minus 1, b squared plus 1. And this is something that I kind of didn't do last time. I want to show you really quickly. You can go even further here, okay? Because it's b squared and minus 1. These are perfect squares. V squared is v times v. 1 is 1 times 1. So this will be 3w cubed, and then it's going to be v plus 1, v minus 1. This with the v squared plus, there's nothing you can do there. When it has a plus in the middle, even if they're both perfect squares, if it has a plus in the middle, it's not factorable. So we have to leave it alone. Okay? So this is our answer there. All right? Let's go to the next one. Same concept, same exact concept. Go ahead and try those on your own. Look at the notes. Look at the key to make sure. Let's try this one though. What is your greatest common factor there? 3 goes into 48, yes. So let's take out 3. This one has a v squared, and this one has a v squared actually. I'm taking that out. So what is left over? 48 basically divided by 3 is 16 minus 3v squared u to the 4th. Okay. So let's see if we can, are these both perfect squares? They are. 4 times 4 and u squared times u squared. This will be 3v squared. 4 minus u squared. 4 plus u squared. And again, with like this one, these are both perfect squares as well. 2 times 2 and u times u. So this becomes 3v squared, 2 minus u, 2 plus u. 2 minus u, 2 plus u. This you cannot, with the plus in the middle, can't do anything with that. 4 plus u squared is going to stay the same. So that is what that one is going to look like. Okay? So we have all of those. That's it. Now, once you move down here, we're looking at cube factors. These are the formulas for cube factors. When I teach this on the high school level in Alpha 2 or in wherever we teach it, please make sure to understand these are like formulas that you have to kind of remember and memorize. We use like a nice little acronym called SOAP, same, opposites, always, positive. It kind of makes people, it helps you remember, same, opposite, always, positive. What do you mean? You're talking about the signs. So you see here with this a cubed plus b cubed, both of them have to be perfect cubes. Kind of like up here we had to have the perfect squares on both sides. If they're both perfect cubes, then you can use these formulas, okay? So if they're both perfect cubes, you're going to say same, which is right here, positive, because this one's positive, same sign. Opposite, so that's negative, always positive. Last is always positive. So that kind of helps you with the signs as you're looking at these formulas. Same thing, same. This one's opposite. This one's always positive. So it's just a little acronym to help people remember. So if you're looking here, so are these perfect cubes, both of them? And this middle, it can be a plus or a minus. Okay, with the perfect squares up here, they have to be minuses. Down here, they can be pluses or minuses. It really doesn't matter. And you can still use the formulas, either 1 or 2. In this case, because it's a plus in the middle, we use that first one. And this, if we were doing this one, we use the negative formula. And matter of fact, let me erase this one and do one of these. Like I'll do this one. Okay, so that it has a negative in the middle. All right, so first and foremost, you need to know what the perfect cube is. So if you have 8b cubed, what is that perfect cube for that? What times what is equal to this thing? It's going to be 2b. 2b times 2b times 2b is 8b cubed. And then the 27 cubed, I believe is 3. Okay, because 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. So 3. Okay, and that represents your A and B situation. Okay, the 2 and the 2B and 3 represent what A and B is, but you have to do the perfect cubes first. So basically, you're like cube root of both of those. And once you do that, then once you get that 2B and 3, then you can put it into the formula. And we're plus, so we're using this first formula. It's going to look like this. Our A represents 2B. So this is going to be 2B plus 3, which is our B value. And then it's going to be 2B squared. So if I had to do 2B squared it will be what? 4v squared. So that's what would be right here. 4v squared minus 2v times 3. 2v times 3 is 6v. 6v. So this will be 2v times 3, which is a times b, and that becomes 6b. That's why I have the 6b there. Plus b squared, and our b squared is 9 because it's going to be 3 squared, which is 9. Now, believe it or not, that is actually your answer, unless you can factor this, which usually you cannot. So that is going to be your answer once you factor. So this is the factor of this using the formula that we had. So let's try this one. Are these both perfect squares? Probably so, because we're trying to, we're working on it. So 27, we know it's 3. So this is going to be, so 27y cubed is going to be 3y. And 125, the cube root, and remember, we're looking for cube root so that we can find our a and b in this part of our problem. The cube root is 5. So our a is 3y, and our b is 5. So we're just going to place it in here. So for a, we said it was 3y minus 5. And then your a squared is going to be 3y squared. So that'll be 3y times 3y, which is 9y squared. Plus, we're using this formula. A times b is 3y times 5, which is what? 15y. So this is plus 15y. And then plus, the last one's always positive, 5 squared, which is 25. So that is going to be our factor for our cube. Okay, perfect cube. So again, just knowing these basic formulas are going to help you, and same, opposite, always positive, they help you remember. Doing it will help a little better, okay? Actually doing the problems over and over again, repetition is very helpful, believe it or not, all right? All right, so in this particular one, let's move on. It says solve. If there's more than one solution, you're going to separate them with commas. So I'll show you how to do this. This right here is an equation. And if they're already kind of factored for you, you're going to use the zero product property, which basically means that 5w minus 7 is going to be equal to 0. And 6 plus w is going to be equal to 0. So basically, I just set this one equal to 0 and set that one equal to 0. And now I'm going to solve it. Add 7 to both sides over here. 5w equals 7. Divide by 5. So one of your answers is 7 over 5. There. And then for this one, I'm going to get w by itself. I would subtract 6 from both sides. Again, I'd always usually put the little thing here. All right, subtract 6 from both sides, and you get w equals -6. So your basic answers or solutions to the problems are w equals 7 over 5. And it says, and comma, it wants to put a comma, -6. So these are your answers, okay? So w equals 7 over 5 and -6. Now, for this particular problem, if you see, usually, if there are 3 different variables, your answer, you're gonna have 3 different answers. Not always, but most of the time. Same thing here. You see how there's 2 different W's and you got 2 different answers? Let's try here. This one, same situation, same premise. This one's gonna be 5u equals 0. And then you'll have u minus 8 equals 0. And you'll have u minus 3 equals 0, okay? So then you're just going to be solving for each and every problem of u. U is equal to 0 in this case, okay? Add 8 here, u is also equal to 8, kind of straightforward. Add 3 here, u is equal to 3, okay? And usually, to be honest with you, you put them from least to greatest, so I put -6 first and then 7 over 5, that's fine. In this one, I'll do it the correct way. 0, 3, and 8. Again, it really I mean, it just depends on how picky they are. Doesn't matter. You got the correct answers. It's fine. All right. So here, solve, and you're looking. It's the same situation as you had up here, but they already kind of factored it for you here. Here, you're gonna have to factor it for yourself. So let's first look here. Can we take out a greatest common factor? That's usually the first thought process when you talk about factoring. And in this case, it looks like it because there's a greatest common factor between these two. There's 5 and there's y. Okay. When I took out 5y, what was left over? Just 1y here plus, looks like 3. Okay. So now I would kind of do it like I did like the one up here, where it kind of looks like this. And now it kind of looks like that. So I'm going to have 5y equals 0 and y plus 3 equals 0. Okay. Divide by 5, y equals 0. Subtract 3 here, y equals negative 3. So these are your different answers. Okay. And let's move on to this one. And you can see how this is kind of like separated. Y squared equals negative 17y, kind of separated. I'm going to put them all on the same side so that I can kind of get to what I need to get to by adding 17y to both sides. So when it does that, it becomes y squared plus 17y equals 0. And now we can kind of factor it and get what we need to get from it before we try to solve it. So in this case, the y's are greatest common factor, and what's left over here is 1 plus 17, y plus 17 equals 0. Then we'd say y equals 0 and y plus 17 equals 0. Subtract 17 from this situation. We already have our answer there. Y is going to be equal to negative 17. So we have y equals 0. I'll put it up here. Y equals 0 and what? Negative 17. I'll put negative 17 first. Negative 17 and 0. Again, as long as you get the answer, I don't think they're really picky right now. Depends on like once you start graphing and stuff, maybe. All right, so down here, this is definitely something that you should be able to recognize. They want you to factor this side. You want to try to get it so that it's equal to 0, so it's already there. Same or different, meaning 1 positive, 1 negative. Bigger number is going to be negative. What are your multiples of 18 of subtract to give you 3? 9 and 2, 9, 8, 7, no. 6 and 3, yep, that's it. Bigger numbers negative, so it's going to be 6 and 3. So you're going to have w plus 3 equals 0 and w minus 6 equals 0. Okay, so again, subtract 3. W is going to be equal to negative 3. Add 6. W is also going to be equal to 6. So these are going to be your two answers there when you solve and using your factoring. All right, so let's move on to this page. So same thing here, kind of. You do have to get it so that it's equal to 0, then you can probably try to factor it. Let's do that. Let's add 7y, add 6. So we're just trying to get basically every single thing on the same side, okay? So now it becomes 2y squared plus 7y plus 6 equals 0. And hopefully you know how to factor that. We're going to circle divide that. Y squared plus 7y plus 2 times 6 is 12 equals 0. Same or different? Same. Both of them are positive, so y plus, same means you're adding to get your answer. Multiples of 12 that add to give you 7 is 3 and 4. Don't forget to divide. So your answer there is going to be 2y plus 3 and y plus 2. And both of those are going to be equal to 0. So we're not done here. Once we get here, now we can say 2y plus 3 equals 0 or y plus 2 equals 0. Subtract 2. I'll do the easy one first. Okay. So one of the solutions is y equals -2. In this one, you got to subtract 3. 2y equals -3. Divide by 2. Y equals -3 over 2. So we got both of our answers. One here, one here. All right. So there that goes. Now let's move on to this problem. Again, it's a little bit intricate, but it just involves the same type of thing. So let's just do this one, actually. All right, so let's first and foremost, they want you to square this, okay? I'm writing it out twice so I can FOIL it. And this becomes now, and we FOILed earlier, this is b squared minus 4b, and this one is minus 4b, and this one is plus 16. And for now, we're just going to leave that side alone. Combine like terms, 4 squared minus 8v plus 16, okay? Once I FOIL this out, this is what I get. I'm going to have it equal to this side. Okay, I just brought that straight down. Now, just believe it, just like up here, I'm going to get everything on one side. Everything is going to go on one side. So I'm going to take everything from over here and do the opposite. 2v plus squared plus 18v minus 37. And do the same thing. -2, whatever I do on this side, I have to do on this side. -2v squared plus 18v minus 37. Okay, I'm going to set that all equal to 0. And what it comes out to be is, what is that? Negative v squared plus 10v. Okay, I want to say that's 21 minus 21. Okay. And I'm going to have to factor this situation right here. Now, I can't factor with a negative at the beginning here. And we kind of talked about that at the a couple days ago on our notes. But if it has a negative in front, I got to take that negative out. When I do that, it changes the sign of everything. Okay? So you have to like add on to the rules that you've already had. So that's what I did there. I took out the negative. Now I can factor it. Same or different, same. Both of them are going to be negative. B minus, B minus. Okay? This is kind of long, but this is just basically where you're going. There are times when it's going to be super duper long. That's just a part of the process. Sorry about that. All right, so multiples of 21 that add to give you 10. 7 and 3. All right? So there you go. That's what you have for your factors. And believe it or not, with that negative up front, you're not really going to do anything with it when we're talking about solutions for this particular problem. You're just going to use these two. You're not worried about that because it doesn't have a variable with it. So it's going to be b minus 7 equals 0 and b minus 3 equals 0. So add the 7. B is going to be 7. Add the 3 on this side. B is going to be 3. So your answer is 3 and 7 for B. Okay, it was kind of long to get there, but it wasn't anything that we hadn't seen before. Okay. All right, so I did want to kind of show you this one, and there's another one at the bottom that I want you to practice on. If you really, really need it, I will go over this again. If you need it for like, if you wanted me to do this with you for office hours or something, just email me and I could come and help you with it. It's not easy either. It's a very long process, but I know that you could get it if you just practice. And if you did need some extra, please let me know. I don't mind coming, during the office hours and showing you how to do this again if you don't feel comfortable with it. But let's talk about it. All right, the length of a rectangle. So it's so much easier if you kind of draw things here, okay? And you really do need to know some of the formulas, like the area of a rectangle is length times width, and the perimeter of a rectangle is 2L, 2 times length plus 2 times width. Okay, that's the perimeter. So if you know some of those things with these that are associated with these rectangles and things, then it will kind of help you with these problems. So let's see. The length of a rectangle is 1 yard less than twice the width. And the area of a rectangle is 21 yards square. So they do give you the area, so we're probably going to use this formula. Well, let's say, find the dimensions of the rectangle. So yes, we're going to be using the area formula. So area equals length times width. And let's read this again. The length of a rectangle is 1 yard less than the width, twice the width. So basically it's at twice the width minus 1 yard. Okay, 1 yard less than. Usually when we say less than, it's the last number. But anyway, twice the width minus 1. And the area of the rectangle, so we know that there's a width, it's length times width, and the area we know is 21 yards squared. So area equals length times width, and we said area is 21. The length of the rectangle, so the L is 2W minus 1, and the width is just the width. So we're just going to say that. All right, so that's basically the information that is given to us. Let's distribute. Let's see what we can do here. 21 equals 2W squared minus W. And this problem kind of looks like one of the ones up here. We need to get it so that we can try to factor. If you see a squared value, for the most part, what you're trying to do is factor if you can, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 21 from both sides because I want to try to get it so that I can get it equal to 0. 2W squared minus W minus 21. And for the most part, if you see a squared W, you're probably going to have 2 different answers. And I'll talk to you about when you're talking about actual physical items. So let's go here. So this, we are used to this. This is something we've seen. Are there any common factors? Doesn't look like it. Let's circle slide divide here. This becomes W squared minus W minus what? 42. What, same or different? Looks like different because the last number is negative. So it's going to be 1 negative, 1 positive. And what are your multiples of 42? That subtract to give you 1. Bigger number is going to be negative. 6 and 7. So 7 is negative. 6 is going to be positive. Please don't forget to divide by that 2 that we did circle slide divide. So we're going to divide by 2, divide by 2. I'll put it up here. Okay. So this becomes W. Oh, this doesn't simplify. So this is going to be 2W minus 7. 6 divided by 2 is 3. W plus 3. Okay. And all that is going to be equal to 0. So in order, just like up there, we were going, in order to get your answers, you got to set them both to 0. 2W minus 7 equals 0, and W plus 3 equals 0. Add 7 to both sides. 2W equals 7 divided by 2. W, or your width, is going to be equal to 7 over 2, which is basically 3.5. And subtract 3 from both sides here. W is also equal to -3. Now, when you are talking or speaking about something that's actual truth, real lengths, actual blocks, you know, buildings or something of that nature, all these dimensions, when you get an answer that's negative, it cannot be true, okay? Because you can't have a negative length in reality. So once you get that negative right there for the width, you know that's not going to be true. It does not, it can't be negative for width, okay, or length of something. So in this case, so since that is not true, that means the width is 3.5, all right? And it's not just asking you for width in this case, it's asking you for width and length. But since we know the length is 2w minus 1, and now we know that the width is 3.5, all we have to do here is replace width with 3.5, and then that should give us our answer for our length. Okay, so we're going to do 2 times 3.5 minus 1, and our answer is 6 for our length. Okay, so our length is going to be 6, and 3.5 is our width. So we did get our answers for the dimensions there. And again, try it. After doing all of this that we just did, try it here, and you should be a little bit more comfortable with that. Okay. All right, moving on. This is kind of a long day's notes. I guess 6 was very short, so this one's gonna make up for it. All right. All right, so follow, for the following right triangle, find the side of length x. This has a lot to do with, this is basically the Pythagorean theorem, okay? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. A and b represent sides of a triangle. C represents the hypotenuse, it's the longest part of the triangle, okay? If you're talking about a right triangle, you see this little box right across from that is always going to be the hypotenuse. So if you see the right triangle, whenever you go like right across from the right triangle, that line is the hypotenuse. So in this case, we have the A and B represent these sides. The hypotenuse always represents C. So we're looking for x. We know that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So basically 8 squared plus 6 squared equals whatever c squared is. And I can put that in my calculator for 8 squared plus 6 squared. So I'm going to put 8 squared plus 6 squared, and I get 100. So 100 equals c squared. Now, in order to get the answer for c, we want c. We need to know what c is. What is the length of c? We don't need the c squared. We're going to take the square root. Okay? In order to get c squared to be just regular c, take the square root of it. So this will be c equals square root of 100 is 10. So your answer here is 10. Okay? Okay, let's try this one. This says, for the following right triangle, find the side x, round your answer to the nearest 100. So it's probably going to be some situation where we're going to have to put in a calculator, but that's fine. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. We, across from the from there's the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse always c. The a or b is interchangeable here. We don't care which one these are, but c has to be c. Okay. So for this particular one, we just don't know what a is, let's say. Plus 12 squared. It doesn't matter whether this represents a or b because these are interchangeable, but the c has to be 20 squared. Okay, and so we're a squared plus 144. Okay, 12 squared is 144, and then 20 squared is 400. We are going to find a by subtracting 144, so 400 minus 144, and we get 256 there. Now, in order to get a by itself, kind of like what we did last time, is we take the square root, okay? You take the square root of, why can't I find, oh, there it goes. You take the square root of 256, and if you put that in your calculator, you're going to put second in x squared. Okay, that's square root 256. Enter, and we got 16. So 16 is our answer. There, we didn't even have to do round anything. So that's fine. If we did get like a decimal, we'd round to the nearest hundred. So we didn't have to. Yay. Okay, let's look at this. All right, so we are going to look at this, and it's kind of the same concept as what we just did with the a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So it says a ladder leans against the side of a house. The top of the ladder is 10 feet from the ground. The bottom of the ladder is 6 feet from the side of the house. And it kind of gives you a nice little diagram of what's going on. So the ladder is leaning here, the house is here. And then it says it's 10, the top of the ladder is 10 feet from the ground. So it's 10 feet up from the ground, okay? And the bottom of the ladder is 6 feet from the side. So that's where the 10 and the 6 are coming from. Find the length of the ladder. That's going to be your hypotenuse. Okay, that's your hypotenuse. You can tell because if there's a 90-degree angle right here, right across is the hypotenuse. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We don't know what c squared is. This is the best one, okay, because you can put this right in your calculator to get this. So we would do 10 squared plus what, 6 squared. You get 136. And then it's c squared, and we'll take the square root of 136. Over here, clicking away. Okay, so we'll take the square root of 136, which is what I did here. I pushed second and x squared. That's how I got my square root. Okay, let me do that with you. Second, x squared is the square root 136, and push enter. Looks like I'm going to have to round, and it says round to the nearest 10th, okay? So if I'm rounding to the nearest 10th, and this is going to be, what is that? 11.7, okay? Because the 10th is that one. And since that's higher than 5, it makes that 7. So 11.7 is my rounding there. Okay, that's my answer. All right, let's go to the next one. It says, kite flying in the air has 12 feet line attached to it. This line is pulled taut and it casts 11-foot shadow. So it shows you right here basically what's going on. And of course, you know, that's your hypotenuse, that's your c squared. If that's necessary, round to nearest 10th, of course. So find the height. So basically that's my x value is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Let's say we don't know a squared plus b squared is going to be 11 squared. And then 12 squared. So the a squared plus 121 equals 144. Okay. And then you're going to be subtracting 121 from both sides. A squared equals 144 minus 121, which is 23. And we're taking the square root of that. So square root second x squared, which is the square root of what, 23, and it's going to be a decimal. It looks like it's going to be 4.8. So a is going to be 4.8 feet. But feet here, and for this one it's going to be what, feet as well. Okay, it's nice to know because in Alex in a Lifetime they ask you about is it in feet, feet squared, whatever. Okay, so feet for that particular one, and since we weren't like multiplying two feet together, not really in that one, so that's what's going to be the answer there. All right, so this one we're just going to do the top. This is the last one we're going to do. Again, there's more in your review as to what you really, really need for your test. We definitely have a review coming up. So hold tight for that. But let's look this over. And this one is exhausting, really. But we're going to get through it. Let me pull my notes together. Okay. So this is kind of like the one we did before, but not really, because this one kind of involves the Pythagorean theorem, because it does say hypotenuse there. So you know that it kind of does, and it has like 3 different lengths. And that length of the hypotenuse is one of them. So let's read it. The shorter leg of a right triangle is 5 centimeters shorter than the longer leg. Okay? Okay. The hypotenuse is 5 centimeters longer than the longer leg. Find the sides of the triangle. So, okay, we have the longer leg, and then the kind of shorter leg, and then we have the hypotenuse. And we said, let's say that this is the longer leg. We're going to call it A. All right, that's the longer leg. And our B side is going to be, what does it say? 5 centimeters shorter than that leg. So A minus 5. And our hypotenuse is 5 centimeters longer. So it's going to be A plus 5. And if our Pythagorean theorem is A squared plus B squared equals C squared, let's pull this all together. So this is going to be A squared plus, in place of B, we're going to say A minus 5 squared. Okay? And then in place of C, we're going to say A plus 5 squared. Okay? So now we're going to have to do all the work that's associated with doing that. So let's do A squared plus, this is going to be A minus 5, A minus 5. So we're squaring it. Same thing over here. A plus 5, A plus 5. Okay? So it's craziness. So this becomes A squared plus, we're going to FOIL it, A squared minus 5A minus 5A plus 25. We've done enough of those. A squared, I kind of can just make it whatever it is, but I'm going to go over it. These are notes. Okay, I don't want to go too fast, but we do know that. Same thing, we're going to combine like terms. So we can actually combine these two. So this will be 2A squared minus, what is that? 10A plus 25 equals A squared plus 10A plus 25. Okay? And if we have all these squares, we're going to be solving or factoring. So since we're going to be factoring, let's go ahead and get everything equal to 0. Uh-oh, some things look like they're canceling out. I just see that cancel out. All right, so 2A squared minus 1A squared is just going to be A squared. This becomes negative 20A. That cancels out, and that's going to be equal to 0. So now that we have that, we should be able to be good. I mean, these are just two, and they have a greatest common factor, which is A. I'm going to take that out. A minus 20 equals 0. So this is going to be A equals 0, and this one is going to be A. If I add 20 to both sides, it's equal to positive 20. So we have A equals 0, A equals positive 20. Now, if we're talking about a length, it can't be 0, okay? Negative and 0 is not going to work for length, okay? If you're talking about the length of a side is a certain amount long, 0 is not going to work for that, okay? And that's just basic common sense, or when you're talking about shapes and stuff. So negatives and zeros, no. So our A is actually going to be equal to 20. So now that we have A, we can find everything else, because as you know, The shorter leg is 5 centimeters shorter. So if A is 20 and we subtract it, so this one's going to be 20, okay? And we subtracted 5 from that, we'll have 15. And if we added 5 to that, that will be 25. So those are all of our lengths. The shorter leg is going to be 15, 20 is your longer leg, and the hypotenuse is 25. So we did find all of those images there. Okay. And that is about it. I am excited to be done, but we have more review to come. So I look forward to it.